The third dictum of theirs is that they must attack our strategy. And that is what they're doing by making us perceive a northern threat, perceive a western threat, and they're attacking our weakest point, which is our defense budget. So there isn't enough money to dominate the Indian Ocean. And that is the only advantage we have against a 19 trillion economy. I don't believe that a country with a 4.2 trillion economy can sit across the table with a 19 trillion economy and come to an equitable peace agreement unless we have some card to play. And this, I believe, is the card. I'm not suggesting getting into a conflict with the Chinese Navy, but what they believe in, conventional deterrence, open seas, open Indo-Pacific in peace, no access in war.
精彩集锦里，一位印度专家把中基描反成一股半星际柳四板切局的对手，旁须只要中星际柳四板切局的对手，旁须只要中星际柳更大，印度就只能坐在谈判桌旁接受安排。这一出反击起来，这一出法欺起来谁失足？可仔细一看，问斗更像是把自身的焦虑包着成一套宏大对视。大家好，这里是感人视觉频道。借北方危究苦到西方危究，再苦到 Z 防预算不足，最后看要靠海上拒止能力兼手上的王牌。整把邓论的核心，其实也不是中举做了什么，而是印度如何面对利差距，以及如何补上自己的 Wrath 被略短板。更有意思的是，一句 C 就唱不干，中面相突。一起又反复渲染中必得的危究，一起成领中必在自己科技和细造量上取得巨大拥贼，一起又急住宣起中必大因泥非不可，必起忌谈又不服地的矛盾心态，正是本期 ZG 容最值得毛查的地方。接下来的正片我明完整梳理这把作单中必大略的分析，看看所七梯塑造困境和不丧而巧究竟是有根敲的大腹略判，看是另一把自我安慰时的想象。
But when we come to the four that concern us, there is a big gap in assessing what China intends to do, because there is a big cultural difference between us and them. They think in decades. They don't believe any of the strategists that we believe in, or the US, or Britain, or France, or Germany. They, from 2014, 2015 onwards, they rely solely on Sun Tzu. And that he is the source of that document which I said, which apparently we have copies of. I'm so glad to hear. But in this, there are three aspects which are shown in red, which I will amplify one by one. The first is deception. This is not the same as our principle of surprise. Surprise is during operations. Deception is pretending to be interested in an area where you're not. So that's completely different. The second is that they believe that they must attack the enemy's strategy, not his military. And the third is that, which particularly applies to us, shaping the environment so that they achieve victory without fighting. So I'll take the last one first. What do they mean by shaping the environment? This. Don't worry about the details of this slide. But the slide is actually much longer. And this has been going on for over half a century. They converted a technologically backward country into a nuclear weapon power against us. They have given them a satellite today, a Chinese satellite launched from a Chinese site, which has an orbit solely for observing India night and day. The question that I want to ask is, what is it that we don't get? Haven't we understood this? How long does it take for us to catch on that they want to tie us down in a senseless escalation. Let's deal with the next one. Since instituting their grand strategy around 2015 after Xi Jinping came, I'm showing you the list of what they have done since then. Now, army officers here will be familiar with the left-hand column. Naval officers here, I'm sure, will be familiar with the right-hand column. But I have doubts whether anyone has put these lists together. What I'm trying to say is that if you look at the right side column, as things get tighter for them, so they perceive, they are initiating action on the left-hand side. Almost as if to say to us, look this way, look this way. So finally, after Galwan, it appears that we did look that way. And we spent a lot of money building infrastructure, which I don't think is a bad idea. It's national infrastructure. But the big question I want to raise is this not deception? So, against this, what can we do in an asymmetric situation when we are a 4.2 trillion economy and they are 19, 20? The third dictum of theirs is that they must attack our strategy. And that is what they are doing by making us perceive a northern threat, perceive a western threat, and they are attacking our weakest point, which is our defense budget. So there isn't enough money to dominate the Indian Ocean. And that is the only advantage we have against a 19 trillion economy. I don't believe that a country with a 4.2 trillion economy can sit across the table with a 19 trillion economy and come to an equitable peace agreement unless we have some card to play. And this, I believe, is the card. I'm not suggesting getting into a conflict with the Chinese Navy, but what they believe in, conventional deterrence. Open seas, open Indo-Pacific in peace, no access in war. Unfortunately, while we are cobbling our strategy together, theirs is running ahead. And we've recently had the Iran war. At the end of the Iran war, whatever the agreement may be between the US and Iran, it will certainly emerge as the dominant power in the Middle East, with a denial capability that is indicated in the circle. And how has the Iran actually achieved this? You don't have to believe the press about the brilliance of the IRGC and all that. I don't subscribe to that. This is the source of all the trouble. China has been arming Iran from early 1980, the same time they started weaponizing Pakistan. I don't think it's a coincidence. The ability of Iran to have knocked out the main American radar in Jordan came from data from a Chinese satellite. The Iranians actually own a satellite which is made in China and launched by China. So this is going to create further trouble. It is, I think, in response to this that the Mecca Agreement has been formed. But on 20th July, just 2 minutes, the Houthis, who are armed with 900 missiles and 1,000 drones, announced the blockade of the Bab el-Mandab against Saudi Arabia. Only Saudi Arabia for the present. But you've seen the source of the trouble. So this Chinese aid to Iran has been going on for over 50 years. And we should not forget that it was the Iran war that created the maximum damage to the Indian economy. Over $7 billion, a war that took place 650 miles away from our borders, where we were concentrating on. I'm not pointing fingers. We were caught by surprise. But it would be a tragedy to be caught by surprise again, which I think might happen if we don't look after this. The eastern littoral of the Bab el Mandab is dominated by a power which owes its weapons finally to China via Iran. So I think I'm running out of time, so I'll just finish. The last thing I just want to say is this, that there is no harm in looking at our borders. But the era of war to gain territory is over. Wars may occur at the border, but it will not be about the border. War will be across the border. And why is that? Because these are the vulnerabilities of any modern nation. You destroy any three of these or two of these, and the country will be back to the Bullockhart age and in darkness. So these are the realities that we need to confirm. I think I've taken more than enough time. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I turn now to Ambassador Ashok Kant, who is the Subhash Chandra Bose Chair, Professor of International Relations at Chanakya University in Bangalore. He was ambassador to China. I can't think of anyone with more practical experience of actually dealing with China, and the subtleties and all the complications on the.
这场持续近1个半小时的讨论，表面上是在分析中国的大撒战略，实际上是在追问一个更加现实的问题：当一个国家面对实力差距不断扩大的竞争对手时，究竟应该怎样保持清醒，怎样避免误判，又怎样在压力之下保住自己的选择权？3位讲者虽然侧重点不同，但共同指出了一个核心事实：今天的中印关系早已不是过去那种经济规模、科技水平和国际影响力大致接近的关系。随着中国经济、军事实力、科技能力和全球布局快速扩张，原有的平衡已经被打破，边境问题、印度洋安全、周边国家关系、供应链、跨境支付、人工智能以及产业竞争正在被连接成一张越来越复杂的战略网络。这意味着单看一场边境冲突，或者只看某一项武器、某一条贸易数据，都很难真正理解局势。真正重要的是看清这些事情之间如何相互作用。边境上的军事压力可能牵制一个国家的资源和注意力，周边国家的港口、通信和基础设施布局可能改变地区力量分布、低价商品和过剩产能，可能在短期内带来消费便利，却在长期挤压本国制造业。而当技术标准、支付体系和能源通道逐渐被不同力量掌握时，竞争就不再只是战场上的较量，而是对国家整体韧性的考验。其中一个值得反复思考的概念就是不战而胜。现代战略并不总是以公开冲突的方式出现，对手可能通过塑造环境、制造压力、分散注意力、影响周边、控制关键供应链，迫使你在没有正式开战的情况下不断消耗。最危险的地方恰恰在于这些行动往往各自看起来并不致命，甚至能够被解释成正常的贸易、投资、外交或军事活动。但当它们被长期叠加在一起，就可能改变一个国家的安全边界和发展空间。不过，理解这种战略，并不等于接受所有关于对手的判断。视频最后特别提醒我们，分析一个封闭体系时，如果只依赖对方公开发布的文件和政治叙事，就可能在不知不觉中成为宣传的传播者。战略文件能够告诉我们对方希望外界看到什么，却不一定能够完整说明他真正具备什么能力，也不一定意味着所有目标都能最终实现。 因此，任何宏大的战略叙事都必须放回现实中检验，要看经济是否能够持续，科技是否能够转化为生产力，军队是否具备真实作战能力，社会是否能够承受长期压力，外交承诺是否能够兑现。这也是这场讨论最有价值的地方，他没有把中国描述成不可战胜的力量，也没有把印度描绘成只要表态坚定就能够自然崛起的国家。中国拥有强大的制造能力、庞大的市场、持续推进的军队现代化和相对稳定的长期规划，但同时也面临人口老化、经济失衡、产能过剩、国内治理压力和国际信任下降等问题。印度拥有庞大人口、不断增长的经济潜力、重要的地缘位置和相对年轻的社会结构，但也必须面对基础设施不足、产业链不完整、国防资源有限以及政策执行不够连续等现实困难。所以，真正有效的应对，既不是天真的迁就，也不是把所有问题都归结为对抗。与中国保持接触，并不代表放弃警惕，发展经贸合作，也不代表必须依赖单一市场，参与多边机制，可以争取共同利益。但不能把多边合作误认为安全保障，借助外部力量进行平衡，也可以扩大空间。但一个国家最终能否保持自主，仍然取决于自身的经济实力、军事实力、科技能力和社会凝聚力。换句话说，外部伙伴可以提供帮助，却不能代替自身建设。别人愿意与你合作，往往是因为你具备价值，而不是因为你永远需要被保护。一个国家只有拥有足够的制造能力、稳定的能源供应、可靠的国防工业、领先的关键技术和清晰的外交目标，才能在大国竞争中真正拥有谈判筹码。所谓自主行动空间，从来不是别人赠送的礼物，而是长期积累出来的能力。对于普通观众来说，这场讨论也给出了一个重要启示：看国际新闻不能只看谁的口号更响亮，也不能只看一时的输赢。我们需要区分事实、判断和宣传，区分能力、意图与结果，区分短期的战术动作和长期的战略趋势。更要警惕那些过于简单的结论，比如某个国家必然崩溃，某个国家必然胜出，或者一次会谈就能解决积累数十年的矛盾。现实世界很少按照这样的直线发展，中印之间未来很可能仍会处于竞争、皆处于管控并存的状态。边境问题未必能够迅速解决，经济往来也不可能完全停止，周边地区的力量竞争还会继续加深。真正重要的不是幻想矛盾可以自动消失，而是建立足够可靠的危机管控机制，避免误判升级，同时把更多精力放在国内发展，提升经济质量，扩大科技投入，培养专业人才，增强社会对长期竞争的承受能力。归根结底，大国竞争比拼的不是一时的情绪，而是几十年如一日的耐心、组织能力与战略定力。一个国家既要看清对手，也要诚实面对自己，既不能低估风险，也不能被恐惧绑架，既要争取和平，又要让和平建立在可信的实力和明确的底线上。那么，看完这场讨论，您认为印度最需要优先补上的短板是什么？是经济和制造业，是国防与科技，是边境治理，还是外交战略和社会共识？您也可以谈谈，面对中国崛起，其他国家究竟应该选择合作、竞争，还是在两者之间寻找更现实的平衡？欢迎在评论区留下您的看法，也欢迎点赞订阅，继续观看更多精彩视频。